Prayer Saves a Nation, the Battle of Waterloo. In 2015, I was out walking with my sister and her husband on the Blackdown Hills in Somerset. We came across the Wellington Memorial, which is an obelisk designed to commemorate the Duke of Wellington's victory at the Battle of Waterloo. It just so happened that we were there on the 100th anniversary of the battle, which had taken place on June 18th, 1815. I thought this was a coincidence, but then I thought that God was reminding me of this event. As if to confirm this, there was at that time a report in the papers about two British Army Red Devil display team paratroopers who had a narrow escape when one soldier's parachute failed to open properly, leading his teammate to catch him mid-air. Both soldiers, Corporal Mike French and Corporal Wayne Shorthouse, were unharmed after landing in a marina in northwest England. So Napoleon was known for being short and a corporal, and French, so this seemed like a bit of a coincidence. The fact that these two army paratroopers had had such a narrow escape made me think of the Duke of Wellington's comment on the Battle of Waterloo. It has been a damned nice thing, the nearest run thing you ever saw in your life. Spiritually, I believe that the Lord was reminding me of this epic battle which secured peace in Europe. In fact, the next 50 years after Waterloo saw the greatest period of peace and advancement in British history. A huge, dark shadow of invasion had been removed, and the nation was able to progress. England and later Great Britain were constantly under the threat of invasion from the time of the break with Rome up until the Battle of Trafalgar, where the combined French and Spanish fleets were decisively beaten by Admiral Nelson. It's instructive to repeat here Nelson's prayer. On the morning of the battle, Nelson made an entry into his journal, and with it the following prayer: "May the great God, whom I worship, grant to my country, and for the benefit of Europe in general, a great and glorious victory, and may no misconduct in anyone tarnish it, and may humanity after victory be the predominant feature in the British fleet. For myself individually, I commit my life to him that made me, and may his blessing alight on my endeavours for serving my country faithfully. To him I resign myself and the just cause which is entrusted to me to defend. Amen." The Napoleonic Wars lasted from 1803 to 1815. The wars originated in political forces arising from the French Revolution, which happened between 1789 and 1799, and from the French Revolutionary Wars, which occurred from 1792 to 1802, and produced a period of French domination over continental Europe. Britain prayed extensively during this period, treating the conflict not just as a political struggle, but as a religious and existential battle for survival. Prayer was used to seek divine protection against invasion, celebrate victories, and mourn the dead. The government and the Church of England established specific days for national prayer. For instance, a form of prayer and thanksgiving was produced in November 1798 to celebrate Admiral Nelson's historic victory at the Battle of the Nile. Without going into a long history lesson, the whole conflict culminated in the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. The Allied forces ranged against Napoleon were led by the Duke of Wellington. Wellington was an amazing general who never lost a battle. His forces had driven the French out of Portugal and Spain and had moved into France, playing a big part in the surrender of Napoleon in April 1814 after his military position became untenable. This was in stark contrast to Napoleon, who was responsible for a number of spectacular military disasters and deserted his army on more than one occasion when things weren't going well. Napoleon was sent to the Isle of Elba as part of the surrender terms. To many ordinary people in Britain, he was a bogey figure, to such an extent that he was seen as a demonic child-eating ogre nicknamed Boney, who used to terrify children into good behaviour. Napoleon escaped from the Isle of Elba on February 26, 1815. He sailed with a small fleet and landed in Gulf Juan on the south coast of France on March 1, 1815, beginning the period known as the 100 Days. He reached Paris on March 20, 1815, to regain power. Once again, the whole of Europe was under threat, and Wellington was called on to lead an army to deal with Napoleon once and for all. Britain and its army prayed before, during and immediately after the Battle of Waterloo on June 18, 1815. Prayer was by this time an integral part of British military culture and civilian life. Wellington himself prayed at St. Joseph's Church in Waterloo on the morning before the battle. The battle itself is well documented elsewhere. Wellington's army managed to withstand repeated assaults from the French until the arrival of Marshal Blucher and his Prussian forces turned the tide in the Allies' favour. The nation had been praying continuously for more than 20 years for its very survival. God was gracious and answered the prayers. Waterloo is remembered as a military victory. In Britain at the time, it was seen as the definitive act of deliverance by God, ending many years of destructive warfare. So thank you for listening. If you found this video interesting, you can find more information at prophecy-workshop.com.